What's up, guys? It's me, Grey Wolf, back here to do another video for you. Today's video is a video that I'm pretty excited to do. I've been wanting to do something like this for quite a while now, but just haven't really been able to until now. So one of the big things that I like to do is I like to try to find budget RC items that are actually good quality, or at least decent quality for what you pay for them. You know, the RC hobby, as you guys know, is really expensive, and not everybody's got money to just, you know, shell out for top-notch items all the time. So anywhere that I can find to save money, I like to save money, and I like to let others know that, hey, you know, here's a quality budget item. It'll save you money, and it'll do a decent job, if not a great job. Hopefully it does a great job. But today we are going to test, or have a shootout, if you will, between three different 60-watt soldering stations. We are going to be testing two budget stations against one. I want to just call it a quality station. The quality station that we're going to be using is the Track Power TK950, which is a direct clone of the Hakko 936, which was a very good soldering station. The Track Power, now I've done some background checks, kind of comparing, at least as much as I can, because the Hakko 936 is discontinued, has been for years now. But I did as much research as I could online to compare the Track Power versus the Hakko 936, and as far as I can tell, they're virtually identical. It uses all the same tips. The soldering iron itself, the pencil itself, is actually interchangeable with the Hakko 936, at least so I've read. I haven't tested that. I read it was, and I've actually compared pictures of the two online, and they look like they would actually be interchangeable. So as far as I can tell, the Track Power TK950 is very, very, very close, if not identical in quality, to the Hakko 936. The other two stations that we're going to be testing out, the two budget stations, one of them is the Yahuwah 936, which is found on hobbyking.com. After shipping and everything, I think I paid about $33 for that one. 33 and some change, I believe it was. So that's, the Yahuwah is probably the you know, cost-wise, is probably the cheapest one out of the three. The other one is called a Sigma 60D, and the Sigma 60D can be found on Amazon.com for $40, and it's Prime. So if you have Prime, it's free shipping, free 2-day shipping. The Track Power TK950 is going to run you, on Amazon is the cheapest place I can find it. It's going to run you about $73, $74, again, Prime. The Track Power, price-wise and price-wise, it compares to the old Hakko 936. Or if you look at the Hakko 888, I think it is, the one that replaced the 936, it's priced about the same. I think the Hakko one is 80, I want to say it's between 80, I want to say it's $80, but it might be somewhere between 80 and 90. It's very close to $80. So the Track Power price point is very close to a good Hakko station. But again, the other ones are like almost half the price. Actually, the one is like half the price, and the Sigma's not far past half price of it. So if they work really good, then it could be a good thing for people on a tight budget. So anyway, let's just get into this thing some more. I will say one thing though: this shootout is not quite as fair as I would like it to be, and the reason I say that is because the Track Power TK950 is my personal station that I use. It's what I use. So, and I've had it for about 3.5 years now. So I'm comparing a 3.5-year-old soldering station to two brand new ones. Now, I'm pretty sure, from what I've seen so far, I'm pretty sure that not the Hakko, I'm sorry, the track power is going to hold its own, regardless of it being 3.5 years old. In fact, I suspect it will perform better than its cheaper counterparts, despite the fact that it's 3.5 years old. But I just want you to keep in mind that it's 3.5 years old when I'm doing this stuff. So if it ends up being kind of close to one of the other ones, just bear in mind that it is 3.5 years old. So if it was brand new, you could probably expect a little bit more performance out of it, because you know, the tip and the heating element and all that stuff. Now my tip's not 3.5 years old. My tip's probably only 6 months old, but the tip that I'm using on my Hakko is about 6 months old, and it's basically the same size as what comes with the other two. Let's see, what else do we want to talk about here? It is 3.5 years old. It's never been calibrated. Just like, at least it hasn't been calibrated since it left the factory, just like the other two. So we're going to see how far off the calibration is compared to the other two, despite it being 3.5 years old. So we got quite a bit to do, and I know this is going to be, I keep saying I'm going to get my video times down. I know this is going to be a long video just because we're testing 3 different soldering stations. So bear with me. I'm going to try to make it as quick as possible, and I'm going to try to cut out as much of the dead air as possible. So let's get on with this, and let's get into the slideshow. Okay, so just a real quick look at the unboxing here. The Sigma came in a nice sturdy box. I was very happy with the box construction. Very well laid out, as you can see in this picture. And this picture shows just how easy it was. I was able to open the inner boxes without taking them out of the box or anything. Just very nice packaging. This picture here basically shows everything that the Sigma comes with, which I was floored to see everything that the Sigma came with. I mean, not only do you get the stuff you would normally expect, like the station, the pencil, and the pencil holder, but they also give you a desoldering tool, an ESD strap. They give you 5 additional tips, some free solder, which the solder is lead free, which I don't really care for. My personal preference, and pretty much any actual electronic technician will tell you, 6337 solder is pretty much the best stuff to use. They do give you a free fuse as well, and there is an inline fuse inside of it. It's not soldered to the PCB like it is in the other 2 units, so very easy to replace that should that go out. And they do give you a second heating core or heating element there. Although the fact that they give you a second heating element kind of worries me a little bit. You know, I've never seen, outside of the soldering stations that come with the metal heating elements, I've never seen any of the other ceramic stations come with an additional element. I don't know. The only conclusion that I can come to is just because the metal elements need changed more. I don't know. They may be more prone to going out. I touch on this later on in the video, but this particular unit has a 1-year warranty, with the exception of the heating element and the fuse. They're not covered in a warranty at all. So that also lends weight to my theory that the metal heating elements don't hold up as good. On top of that, the track power has a 5-year warranty, although they only have a 1-year warranty on the actual pencil itself. But the rest of the unit has a 5-year warranty. So I don't know. It just seems to me like, you know, if you look at all that stuff combined, it really makes you think that there might be something to the fact that the metal heating elements just don't last as long. But anyway, let's keep this thing rolling here. The Yahuwah box, very cheap, chintzy. It was falling up. I mean, as you can tell, they had to tape it just to keep the bottom from falling out of it. Very not happy with the packaging. just normal opening. I was not rough with this or anything. The box started tearing just taking out this tab. I mean, that's how thin and papery this box is. Inside the box, you can see it's just very cheap material. Not good at all. This picture here is the Yahuwah, obviously, and that's all it comes with. Just the very basics. The 3 things you'd expect everything to come with. The track power actually doesn't come with as much as the other 2. Or, well, I misspoke. It doesn't come with as much as the Sigma. It comes with a couple extra things that the Yahuwah doesn't. It comes with 2 different tips for one. And it also comes with stickers for the pencil holder, or the base, whatever you want to call it. Although, as you can see, the stickers don't hold up very well. They're all peeling off and stuff after 3.5 years. Actually, and they started peeling off probably 2.5 years ago. So I really wish they would have made a better solution, or made the stickers better for that. But yeah, you know, whatever. That's fine. It's not a big deal. Okay, so the tips. We got to talk about these tips here for a minute. The one on the left is from the track power. The one on the right is actually the same tip in both of the other units, both the cheap units. And essentially what the difference is the one on the left technically is a track power brand tip, but it's identical to original Hakko tips. If you go on eBay or even Amazon and you order and you find the cheap tips that are labeled Hakko, they're actually clones, and they're not nearly as big as the original Hakkos or the track power tips. Now, you know, if you're on a budget and whatever, and you don't do a lot of soldering, it's not going to be a huge deal. However, it just, again, it speaks to the quality of the track power over the other 2. And there is actually another reason why the bigger tips are actually better quality, and that is the fact that since they're bigger, there's more metal there, they actually retain heat better than the smaller ones. So your thermal rebound and your thermal sag is going to be less with you know, using the bigger tips like that. So again, it's just quality issue. And because of this, though, there is something that you got to know. If you have a track power, you have to buy original Hakko tips. The clone tips will not fit. The collar on the track power is bigger to accommodate, you know, the lock collar is bigger to accommodate the bigger tips. So if you put one of the smaller clone tips in there, it'll just fall right out. And vice versa. If you have one of the cheaper systems, make sure you buy the clone tips, because the original Hakko tips and the track power tips will be too big to fit in the lock collar. And this is just another example of the size difference. As you can tell, it's a much beefier tip. Now here we got all 3 of the irons, and as you can tell, the one on the right is the track power, and you can tell it's got a full ceramic core. The one in the middle is the Sigma, and it's got a metal core. The one on the left is the Yahuwah, and it actually has a ceramic core, but the ceramic core is wrapped in a piece of metal for some reason. So I don't know. It's almost, I don't know. Like, I've never seen one quite like that. So it almost makes me think it's some kind of hybrid tip or something, or hybrid element or something. I'm not sure. I pretty much expect that one to have very similar properties to the ceramic, because there is ceramic inside of it. But you know, I don't know. We'll see. Okay, and then last but not least, on this picture, if you look at the relief, I forget what these pieces are called, but it's basically the rubber collar around the wire that provides stress relief from bending and pulling and stuff like that. If you look at the track power and on the right and the Sigma in the middle, they're pretty much identical. and they're a little bit beefier and a little bit better quality than the one on the Yahuwah. Now this picture is just a close-up of the collars. As you can tell, both the track power on the right and the Sigma in the middle have these very nice rubbery, comfortable grips. The Yahuwah on the left, the grip isn't as comfortable, and it has a much harder plastic feel to it. You know, not a big deal, but again, just speaks to the quality of it. Just this picture here is just a close-up of the tips and what they kind of look like. Here is a close-up of the Yahuwah tip, and this is what I was talking about a minute ago, where it has the ceramic inside of a metal shaft. Not sure why they did that. This is just for comparison. This is the one for the Sigma. It's solid metal. I actually didn't take one of the track power because you can see it in the other picture, and it's definitely all ceramic. Here's a picture of the other end of the pencils. Pretty much the track power is on the right, and you can tell it's got the same basic kind of relief that the other end has, which is very good quality. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the Sigma is the one on the left in this picture, which has a decent relief, but it's not as good a quality as what was on the other end. And then the one in the middle, I believe, is the Yahuwah, which has the chintziest looking relief on it. The bases. Wow, there's a lot to cover on the bases. So the track power is in the middle, obviously. The Sigma's on the left, Yahuwah's on the right. Things to note: the track power base is solid aluminum, very heavy, very nice construction. Pretty much my favorite base out of the three, with one small exception. The Sigma base, which is on the left, is plastic, although it does have a metal tray under the sponge, which all three of them do actually, but the rest of the base is plastic. Two things that I really like about the Sigma base is, one, the designers had a stroke of genius when they decided to put the steel, a little compartment for steel wool alongside the sponge. It's really handy to have both. You don't necessarily need both, but it's really handy to have both. And it's like the one thing on the Sigma that I wish my track power had. The other thing to note on the Sigma is the actual slot where the pencil sits. The pencil sits very snug and secure in that slot, doesn't move. And there's actually examples in the video later on, but it doesn't move, so they get full marks for that. And actually the Sigma base isn't terrible, even though it's mostly plastic. It's still got a fair amount of weight to it. It's not terrible. You know, overall for 40 bucks, it's actually a pretty decent base. The base on the right for the Yahuwah it's all plastic with a very thin metal tray under the sponge. It's fairly light. It's the lightest of the three bases. It's pretty much all plastic, and it's just cheap and chintzy, and it's also smaller than the other two. Now this picture here I took just because, excuse me, just because I wanted to show you guys the difference of the trays under the sponges. The track power in the middle has a very nice deep reservoir. It's probably a good 5-6 millimeters deep, I would guess. I didn't measure it, but I would guess it's something like that. You know, it holds a fair amount of water, so the sponge stays wet for a really long time if you need it to. It's got plenty of room for, you know, spare, you know, junk solder and stuff to build up in it before you have to empty it out. It's just very nice. The Sigma there on the left, they give you like a millimeter or two of room under the sponge, which, you know, I give them kudos for that, because if you look at the Yahuwah on the right, there's nothing under the sponge. In fact, the sponge doesn't even have a hole in it, which I really dislike. I really like the sponge with the holes in it, because it's just, I don't know, to me it's just handier to clean. Do you need it? No. Is it nice? Yes. So there again, Quality it just shows. The track power has the nicest base, Sigma second nicest, and the Yahuwah last, obviously. This is just a picture of the bottom. I'm not sure why I even took this, but if you want to know what the bottom looks like, that's what it looks like. Now this picture, the Yahuwah and the track power both have the collars that hold the pencils are both removable. And so I decided to take them both off and weigh them to show you the difference in the weight between the two bases. Now this one is off of the Yahuwah. It's plastic and it only weighs 22.8 grams. By comparison, in this picture, this is the aluminum pencil holder from the track power and it weighs 79.7 grams. So the base for the track power weighs something like 3 to 3.5 times what the Yahuwah base does. And then I just took this because the Yahuwah base, it was such a piece of crap. When I was doing something, I think I was taking the collar off to weigh it or something, and I kind of pushed up on one corner on accident, and it just kind of came up a little bit. So I literally just took my thumbnail and kind of stuck it under the corner and just lifted up, and the whole thing basically just lifted up because the only glue that was actually still holding it was the glue that you see still attached to it there, that one little strand that's hanging on. And you can tell this had a lot more glue on it at one point, but for some reason it all dried out and is no longer stuck to the bottom. So again, I just put that in there to show the quality level. Okay, to talk about the external case itself, just the housing, all three units are virtually identical. But again, there's just small details that Sigma nails that they copy from the better grade companies that Yahuwah didn't. And one of these is the little rubberized non-slip foot pads. They're on the Sigma, they're on the track power. Yahuwah wanted to save a couple bucks, so they didn't put them on. This is an internal picture of the Yahuwah. As you can see, it does have the fuse soldered into the little PCB there. No inline fuse. Not a huge deal, but whatever. The PCB, if you can just tell by looking at this PCB, the construction quality is terrible. And if you've ever inspected very many like clone cheap Chinese, products that have PCBs in them, they all look like this. They're all obviously hand soldered, usually not very well, and they don't bother to even clean up the board. As you can see, I'm guessing this is flux residue that's just left all over the board. Just very sloppy, very unprofessional looking, and very cheap. Here is the inside of the Sigma, and you can already kind of tell that this is a better quality unit. First off, you can see the black inline fuse holder behind the little PCB there, so if the fuse happens to blow, much easier to deal with in this unit. And this picture here is the PCB out of the unit, and you can tell by leaps and bounds that this is a much more professionally done PCB. It looks clean. It probably it doesn't even look like it was done by hand, I don't think. Or if it was done by hand, whoever did it was definitely a professional. And it's clean. There's no residue. There's no crap on it or whatever. It's just much better quality looking. And that pretty much wraps it up for the slideshow portion. So let's get on with the rest of the video. Okay, we're back from the slideshow, and now we are going to jump right into how long it takes for each one of these stations to get up to temp. And I'm actually going to be timing this with my smartphone. I do have a stopwatch app on here. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna start with the track power, and we'll go from there. Okay, we're back, and here's what I found out. So the track power TK950, and all of them are set to 750 degrees Fahrenheit. The track power TK950 actually took 33.1 seconds to go from room temperature. I haven't had these irons on all day, so it went from room temperature all the way up to 750 degrees in 33.1 seconds. The Sigma actually did it in 32.6 seconds, which I was a little surprised that it heated up so quickly, because it does have the metal heating element in it instead of the ceramic. However, again, if you take into account that the track power is 3.5 years old, when it was new, it probably would have beat the Sigma, at least by a little bit. But I'd say overall, probably fairly comparable. I'm actually kind of impressed with how fast the Sigma heated up. In comparison, the Yahuwah took 1 minute and 2 seconds to get up to temp, which actually was not surprising. I kind of expected that, and I actually kind of expected that from the Sigma too. I expected the Sigma to be a little bit faster just because it does look to be a little bit better quality. But I still expected it to take a fair amount of time longer than the track power because of the metal heating element. The metal heating element in terms of getting up to temp doesn't really seem to matter. Although where I think it probably will matter will be thermal recovery. I think will make a difference. I think we'll see a difference there, but who knows? Might be surprised. Let's go on to the next section. We're going to switch to the overhead camera, and as you can see, the Hakko is reading room temperature of 73 degrees Fahrenheit, which is just about dead on balls accurate. I have the thermostat in the house set for 70. My hobby room, especially when the door's closed, which it is right now, always creeps up a few degrees. So I'm fairly certain that that is a dead on reading right there. So let's start testing these, shall we? Get some solder ready here. And first one up is going to be the track power TK950. And we're just going to tin the iron a bit, and then we're going to just hold it right on the sensor there, and let's see how far it climbs up. So it looks like we're still climbing. We're actually quite a ways off from 750 degrees though, which is what the irons are still set for. So I'm a little bit surprised that we're not reading higher levels. Although, like I said, this thing is 3.5 years old. So it looks like we're topping out about, well, no, it's still climbing. But it looks like we're topping out about 693. Yep, it's topped out at about 693. Now again, 3.5 years old. It's got a lot of residue built up on not only the tip but the heating element and stuff. So next up is the Sigma 60D, and we're just gonna tin the tip here. I can already tell this one's hotter just from the way that solder melted. And we're already reading 717, and it's still climbing. And again, this is the one where I may have messed up the original, from the factory calibration a little bit. So this one could be off, maybe as much as 10 degrees. Looks like we're starting to top out here about 723, 724. It's bouncing back and forth. Looks like about 722. 723, somewhere in that neighborhood. So I don't know, if we gave it a 10-degree benefit of the doubt, we could even say as high as 730 something, which would be pretty close calibration out of the box. And next up is the Yahuwah 936, and again we'll tin the tip, very fast tin like the Sigma. Wow, we're already jumping up to 380, or 785, 786. This is way off. This is way off. Although I don't know, maybe not as far off as what I was originally thinking it was, because the Sigma, I think I got the Sigma back to what it was originally in the calibration. I don't think it's off 10 degrees. In all honesty, if it's off at all, it's probably only 5 degrees, but I think I got it back to where it was. So we're topping out here about 789, 788, something like that. So almost 40 degrees higher than what it's actually set to. I can't really comment on the track power, but out of the two budget ones, the Sigma is definitely a little bit closer in calibration from the factory. However, neither one of them are necessarily all that far off. I mean, they are, but I mean 30, 40 degrees. I mean, the Sigma was essentially, it was essentially 20, 25 degrees off. Yahuwah was about 40 degrees off. So at any rate, that's where we're at with that. Track power was off the most. It is old. The Sigma was off the least. The Yahuwah was really off. And you know, is it really that big of a deal, you know, for a budget system to be off 20 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit? Not really. But that's where we're at. So moving on to the next part is going to be thermal recovery. Okay, so I just calibrated all three soldering stations. So all three soldering stations should be running right around 750 degrees. So what I'm going to do, I've actually got two helping hands here, and I've got 3 pieces of wire total, 6 ends. What I'm going to do is I'm going to solder, or I'm going to tin each end of the wire, and then I'm going to take a temperature reading right after I'm done. So what I want to do is kind of compare where, you know, I want to see how much the temperature sags on each one of these after doing 6 different, you know, after tinning 6 different wires, basically. So I'm going to do this real quick, and I'll be right back with those numbers. Okay, we're back. I just did the thermal recovery tests on it, and the tests were pretty much what I expected them to be. The track power TK95, after doing all the soldering, immediately put it on the tester. It had dropped from 650 degrees to it dropped from 750 degrees to 716 and rebounded to 745 within literally 2 to 4 seconds. I think it was around 3 seconds. I hardly had time to even start counting. I was not expecting it to rebound that quickly. And the reason that I decided to use 745 instead of 750 is because it seems like, and all 3 irons did this, it seems like once it hits about 745, I think the station slows down how fast it's heating, because all 3 of them, it took several additional seconds to get from 745 to 750. So I just use 745 because it will rebound to 740. All of them will rebound to 745 very quickly. So anyway, the Yahuwah, we're going to do the Yahuwah 1 second, because it was a little closer to the track power's results than the Sigma was. The Yahuwah was dropped from 750 down to 685, but only took about 5 seconds to rebound up to 745. Now, both of those, you know, we talked earlier in the slideshow about the different heating elements in the different irons, and the track power is the traditional, just solid ceramic core like you'll find in all of the higher end, or at least as far as I know, all of your higher end like Hakkos and Wellers and stuff like that are all going to have that same ceramic design. The Yahuwah, doesn't surprise me that the rebound was very similar to the track power, because even though it's got the metal sleeve surrounding the ceramic core, it does still have a ceramic core. Now the Sigma does not have a ceramic heating element. It has the metal wire round heating element. The Sigma dropped all the way down to 654 degrees Fahrenheit and took approximately 14 to 15 seconds to rebound back up to 745. Now, none of that is a huge deal if you're just, you know, if you're just average Joe with, you know, 1 or 2 electric cars, and, you know, you only do just occasional wire soldering. Thermal rebound or thermal recovery isn't really that much of an issue, because, you know, you can wait 10 to 15 seconds in between soldering wires for, you know, for the temps to come back up. It's really not that big of a deal. Excuse me. However, if you are more like me and you do a lot of various electronic stuff, not just RCs, and your soldering iron sees a fair amount of use, especially at one time, like you solder a lot of stuff, you know, in succession, like PCBs, you know, like different stuff on PCBs and things like that, thermal recovery is a huge issue for you, because the slower your thermal recovery is, the longer you have to wait to go on to the next joint, the next joint, the next joint, the next joint. Well, if you're doing a PCB and you're trying to do, you know, 30, 40 joints, you know, that time adds up. So your average budget level enthusiast probably isn't going to care about thermal recovery, but I wanted to throw it in there just to, mostly just to show the advantages of having the ceramic heating elements. Okay, so we're getting toward the, we're winding down toward the end of the video here, and we're going to cover the subjective part, just my personal feeling that I get from all 3 of these stations. I still feel like the track power is definitely the highest quality out of the 3. That being said, I don't feel like the Sigma is all that far behind the track power in quality. I mean, virtually in every area, the Sigma holds up to the track power, with the exception of thermal recovery, which is to be expected because of the, you know, because of the heating elements like we talked about. But, you know, thermal recovery for most people probably isn't going to be a big issue. So the Sigma actually really surprised me more. I mean, I suspected it was going to be a fairly decent machine, but it actually surprised me more than I expected it to. The Yahuwah, on the other hand, basically was kind of the opposite. I actually expected the Yahuwah to be very similar in performance level that I expected the Sigma to be in, which is to say lower than what it actually was. In fact, the Yahuwah is pretty much exactly what I expected it would be. I just expected the Sigma to be down on the Yahuwah's level, which it's not. The only area where the Yahuwah wins anything is it does beat the Sigma in thermal recovery. Other than that, the build quality is garbage. The base is garbage. The pencil holder base is garbage. It's the crappiest quality. Every aspect of the Yahuwah is very chintzy. I mean, it really does just feel and look chintzy. That being said, it's not a bad system. I mean, it works fairly well. Takes forever to heat up. I don't get why it takes so long for it to heat up, seeing as how it has a ceramic core. We saw the thermal recovery properties are very similar to track powers, so I don't get why it takes basically twice as long for it to heat up as either one of the other two models, but it does. So really, and the price difference between the Sigma and the Yahuwah is only $7, not quite $7, 6 and some change. And the Sigma actually comes with a lot more stuff than the Yahuwah does. The Yahuwah doesn't come with anything. So other than it comes with one tip, and it comes with the base and a sponge. That's it. So not only does the Sigma come with a lot more, but it actually has even though the base is plastic, it has a nicer base. The base, I actually love the base in terms of the fact, I love the fact that it has a sponge and it has the Brillo pad, or the steel wool, whatever you want to call it, type cleaner as well, which is fantastic. I wish I had the track power. I wish the track power had that feature. In fact, if it wasn't for the fact that the base is plastic, I probably would switch bases. But I like the fact that the base is metal on the track power. However, speaking of that, there is one last thing that I want to talk about that actually wasn't in my notes, and that is how the pencils fit in the bases. So here's the Sigma, and the Sigma actually, and we've already seen pictures of this, but here's what I'm talking about with the sponge and the steel wool. The Sigma actually fits in the base very well. Does not really wiggle around. There's not much room for it to wiggle around at all. I like that base. If only it was metal, it would be perfect. This is the Yahuwah base. And again, pencil fit is pretty good. Although if you shake it around, it will fall out like that. But if you don't shake it around, it actually does sit in there quite nicely. In fact, it actually sits in there better than the track power, believe it or not. The track power, in terms of it holding the pencil, is actually the worst of the three. As you can see, even if you place it in there and don't move it, it doesn't sit in there like the other two do. It actually falls. And if you shake it, now, okay, I shouldn't say it's the worst of the three, because if you shake it, it doesn't really move. It will stay in there, whereas the Yahuwah one will actually, the Yahuwah one will actually, come out like this if you keep shaking it. This one won't do that. It'll actually stay in there, but it actually doesn't sit in there as well as it could. Construction-wise, the track power it's metal, and I love the compartment where the sponge is, and we've already really kind of talked about the bases. I don't know why I'm covering this again, but the one thing I didn't cover in the bases was how the pencils fit in there, and I just wanted to show you guys that. So there's that. So I guess it's really time for conclusions. Yeah, if you're in the hobby and you don't have a lot of money to spend, and you don't do a lot of repetitive soldering, the Sigma by far is the best value. For $40, man, I'm actually floored by the Sigma. For $40, you get a ton of accessories. You get more accessories than what the track power even comes with. The track power doesn't really come with a whole lot, considering the price point. So the Sigma comes with a ton of stuff. Build quality, internal is really good, performs really well. Thermal recovery is really the only area that I can fault the Sigma. Now it would be nice if the Sigma had a way to view the actual temp in real time. It doesn't do that. It just shows you what the thing is set to. Now it'll show you what the temp is while it's heating up. You can see the numbers roll up as it's heating up, but once it reaches max temp, it just displays what it's set at, which was 750 in this case. So the Sigma, in terms of budget, the Sigma, hands down, you can't beat it. There's no other budget system. There's no other budget system out there that can beat the price, other than Yahuwah, but it's better than Yahuwah. So if you can't afford the higher end stations, Sigma definitely gets a thumbs up from me, and I would recommend it to anybody that doesn't do repetitive soldering. And as I said before, I still feel the track power, even though it's 3.5 years old and didn't quite perform quite as well as I'd hoped it would. I mean, it performed fine. It's just the fact that it being 3.5 years old and being, you know, as how there's already wear and stuff on it, you know, some of the tests, it didn't perform quite as well in some of the tests. In the real life soldering, especially after I recalibrated it, it was spot on. I mean, it was great. Definitely the nicest one to solder with, for doing back-to-back soldering especially. But this, I'm having a hard time actually saying that the track power is, you know, superior. I mean, it is superior, but it's not like it's vastly superior. Honestly, I would have to say that I think the two things to take into account, well, probably three things to take into account when buying a track power or a Hakko or, you know, some other, you know, $70 to $80, $90 soldering station. A couple of the things that you're going to get is you're going to get better quality in terms of durability, I think. You know, looking at these tips and the irons, you know, and the pencils and the internals and stuff like that, I think the track power is probably going to hold up, or the Hakko or whatever is probably going to hold up better long term, which is also reflected in the warranty. The track power has, I believe, a 5-year warranty, and I believe the Hakkos and stuff also have fairly good warranties. I don't know exactly what they are. I didn't look them up, but I know they're probably similar to the track power. I actually couldn't find any warranty information on the Yahuwah at all, which isn't surprising, being as how it's Chinese made and it's, you know, from Hobby King. The Sigma, in comparison, only has a 1-year warranty, and that is for everything except for the heating element and the fuse. So they don't even warranty the entire thing for a year, and it's only 1 year on top of that. So in comparison, in the long run, you're better off if you have the money, you're better off durability wise going with the higher end stations. And again, thermal recovery, if that's something you need, you're better off going with the higher end stations. Other than that, dude, the Sigma is hard to beat. It really is. So if I had to put them in order, the winner would be the track power. Sigma would come in a close second. The Yahuwah distant third. Any of them will work though. Even the Yahuwah actually is not that bad to use. The only thing that I really dislike about the Yahuwah, other than the fact that it's the chintziest build quality, is the fact that it takes forever for it to heat up. But once it gets up to temp, the thermal recovery properties are great. So that's where we're at with it. So, you know, give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Give it a thumbs down if you didn't. Let me know, you know, what you didn't like about it if you give me a thumbs down, and or, you know, go ahead and comment if your feelings are a little more complex than a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And you know, I'll try to do better in the next video. At any rate, if you got any questions or comments, you can catch up with me at my email address, which is graywolfstudios74@gmail.com. Or you can also catch up with me on my Facebook page, which is www.facebook.com/graywolfstudios74, all one word. Or the third option is you can catch up with me at the forums that I hang out at, which is www.rcnitrotalk.com. You can come over there and catch up with me, or if you just want to hang out with a group of nice, friendly, knowledgeable people about RCs, come and sign up and say hello to everybody. We do have an electrics forum as well as Nitro. It's not just Nitro, in spite of the name. So that's it for this video. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.